March 31st, 1945. 1:45 p.m. Frankfurt Rhein-Main Airfield, Germany. American soldiers stationed at the runway hear a sound they have never heard before. Not a propeller engine. Not the familiar piston roar of Mustangs and Thunderbolts. Something else. Like sustained thunder rolling through a clear sky. A pressure wave. Air being cut differently. Cleanly. The sound of the future. Then they see it. Messerschmitt Me 262. The world's first operational jet fighter. German Generalfeldmarschall Adolf Galland described the sensation of flying it as like an angel pushing you through the air. 540 miles per hour top speed. The American P-51 Mustang, the fastest Allied fighter in the sky, tops out at 440 miles per hour. This thing is 100 miles per hour faster than anything the Allies can put in the air. But this particular Me-262 is flying slow. Something is wrong. The landing gear, stuck in the extended position. And inside the cockpit sits Hans Fay, a 30-year-old German Messerschmitt test pilot. He is not attacking. He is defecting, stealing Hitler's most secret weapon and delivering it intact to the enemy. Why does this matter? General Adolf Galland would testify after the war that only 300 Me-262s, flying daily with Germany's best pilots, would have changed the entire air war. American General Hap Arnold, commander of the United States Army Air Forces, saw the Me-262 as an existential threat. He called it the most dangerous weapon Germany possessed. In his assessment, it has one mission in life: get the bombers, and it will pass our fighters so fast they will barely see it, much less slow it down. The Allies had 0 operational jet fighters. Germany had the first one, and Hans Fay was about to hand it over completely intact. That single aircraft, designated T-2-711 by the Americans, would fly 12 test flights at Wright Ohio. It would provide complete technical intelligence on jet propulsion, swept wing aerodynamics, and high-speed flight characteristics. It would accelerate the development of the American P-80 Shooting Star. It would influence the F-86 Sabre that dominated the Korean War. It would shape an entire generation of Cold War fighters, the most consequential theft of the Second World War. But Hans Fay, he received 0 medals, 0 recognition. He died on March 30th, 1981, in obscurity in Altea, Spain, age 66. Nobody remembered him. If you want to see how one impossible decision by one forgotten pilot changed American military technology forever, hit that like button right now. Every single like tells the algorithm to show this story to more people who need to hear it. Hit subscribe if you have not already, turn on notifications, and let me know in the comments where you are watching from. Are you in the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia? Drop your location right now. You are not just a viewer. You are part of keeping these forgotten stories alive. Now, back to March 31st, 1945, and the 60 seconds where Hans Fay had to decide whether to betray his country or betray his family. Hans Fay was born July 31st, 1914, in Speyer, Germany. His father, Hans Fay, was a painter. The family was intellectual, middle class, and had expressed anti-Nazi sentiments as early as 1935. They paid for it. An older brother was killed during the Poland campaign. A sister served in a flak battery near Hanover. Fay himself was not a soldier by choice. He was an aircraft construction engineer. Conscripted in July 1939. By May 1940, he had been transferred to the Luftwaffe Erprobungsstelle, the experimental test station at Rechlin, the cutting edge of German flight testing. By December 1944, Hans Fay had accumulated 11,000 flight operations. 80 of those were in jet-powered aircraft. He was one of the most experienced jet pilots in the Luftwaffe. Major Ernst Englander of U.S. Army Intelligence would later assess him as follows: does not give the impression of being an opportunist, acted in good faith with the courage of his convictions. That assessment mattered, because on the morning of March 30th, 1945, Hans Fay faced an impossible choice. Morning briefing. Schwäbisch Hall assembly plant. Fay and 21 other test pilots received their orders. Fly 22 newly completed Me 262s to Neuburg in der Donau, approximately 80 miles northeast, safe German territory. The mission: prevent the aircraft from being captured by advancing American forces. Standard evacuation. Routine. But there is a problem. Fay's parents live in Laeken-Speyerdorf, an area that American forces captured just days earlier. And the Nazi Sippenhaft protocol is very, very clear. Sippenhaft. Clan liability. If the regime discovers that a family member has committed treason, they execute the immediate relatives. No trial. No appeal. Fay now faces 3 impossible options. Option 1. Obey orders. Fly to German territory. His parents remain vulnerable to Nazi reprisals the moment his defection is discovered. Option 2. Desert alone. Bailout. Surrender. His parents are defenseless. Option 3. Steal the jet fighter. Deliver it to the Americans. The only chance his parents survive is if they are under American occupation, protected, when the theft is discovered. He has 60 seconds to decide whether to betray his country or betray his family. There is no manual for this. Let me tell you about the Messerschmitt Me 262. Revolutionary does not begin to describe it. Twin Junkers Jumo 004 turbojet engines. Swept wing planform, decades ahead of contemporary designs. 4 30mm cannons. Empty weight, 8,289 pounds. Top speed, 540 miles per hour. Service ceiling, 38,000 feet. Nothing the Allies had could catch it. Test pilots described the cockpit experience like this: visibility excellent in all directions. Controls light, effective, perfectly harmonized. Flying it felt, in Gallen's famous phrase, like an angel pushing you. But the Me 262 was also mechanically fragile. The Jumo engines lasted only 10 to 25 hours between major overhaul. Flameouts were frequent. The brakes were weak. The landing gear, temperamental. Perfection, wrapped in fragility. 12:30 p.m. March 31st, 1945. Hans Fay is fourth in the formation of 22 Me 262s departing Schwäbisch Hall. Pre-flight check, normal. Engine start, smooth. Taxi to the runway. Throttle up. Acceleration, rotation. Liftoff, positive rate of climb. Gear up command. Then, nothing. The landing gear retraction mechanism has failed. Either a mechanical defect or a hydraulic malfunction. The gear remains fully extended. A warning light illuminates in the cockpit. Fay tries the emergency backup system. Nothing. The gear is stuck down in a permanent configuration. And just like that, the countdown to death begins. Extended landing gear creates a massive aerodynamic penalty. Drag increases exponentially. The aircraft's speed drops immediately. Normal cruise speed for the Me 262, 750 kilometers per hour, 466 miles per hour. With the gear stuck down, 300 to 400 miles per hour maximum. A 100 mile per hour penalty. Range is reduced by 40%. Fuel consumption doubles. The Me 262 standard endurance is 1 hour and 30 minutes. With the gear extended, 45 minutes, maximum. The clock started ticking the moment he took off. Fay runs the calculations in his head. He cannot reach Laeken-Speyerdorf, his original destination where his parents are. He cannot reach Newburgh, the ordered destination. The fuel is insufficient. Physics has spoken. You will crash somewhere. The only question now is, where? 2 p.m. 20 minutes of flight time consumed. Fuel critical. Fay eliminates his options systematically. Laeken-Speyerdorf, too far. Newburgh, too far. Emergency landing in German territory? Technically possible, but his parents remain under Nazi control. The moment his defection is discovered, they are dead. Only one option remains. Frankfurt, Rhein-Main, American-controlled. Captured on March 26th, just 4 days earlier. It is an unfamiliar field. He has never flown there. He does not know the runway layout. He does not know where the bomb craters are. But it is American territory, and American territory means American protection. For the aircraft, for the pilot, for his parents, living nearby, under occupation. The decision is made. He banks left. New heading, Frankfurt. Let me tell you about Frankfurt Rhein-Main Airfield in late March 1945. The runway measures approximately 1,400 meters. Bomb craters have been hastily filled. The 8th Air Force dropped 12,197 tons of explosives on the Frankfurt area in March 1944 alone. The field is scarred, but usable. American control has been secure for 4 days. Air defense is disorganized. No Luftwaffe units remain in the vicinity, but there is a critical risk. Will American ground personnel recognize an inbound Me-262 as a defection or as an attack? Fay's aircraft is unpainted except for low visibility markings and standard Luftwaffe insignia on the vertical fin. From the ground, it looks exactly like an enemy fighter attacking. Landing a Me-262 with the gear stuck down has never been tested. The configuration is unknown. The aerodynamic characteristics are unpredictable. Here are the technical factors that make this landing impossible. Approach speed with gear down, 280 to 310 miles per hour versus 160 to 180 miles per hour normally. The brakes are only effective after the nose wheel touches the ground. Touching down at over 100 miles per hour means the brakes will have marginal stopping effect. There is no throttle margin. The Jumo engines, if reduced below 6,000 RPM, risk flameout. The runway is unfamiliar. Crosswinds are unknown. Obstacles are unknown. The pilot handbook specifically notes a strong rush of air is heard at speeds of 280 to 310 miles per hour with the gear maintained down. The aircraft cannot achieve safe landing speed while retaining effective brakes. The physics equation is simple. High-speed touchdown plus weak brakes plus short runway equals certain crash. While Hans Fay is flying toward this impossible decision, it helps to understand the context. General Adolf Galland had been fighting with Hitler and Goering for 2 years. His argument was simple. Deploy the Me-262 as a fighter, not as a bomber. Galland's operational analysis went like this. American B-17 bombers represent existential threat to German industry. No conventional fighter is fast enough to reliably intercept them. The Me-262 at 540 miles per hour could destroy entire bomber streams. Only 300 jets, flying daily with the best pilots, would change the air war. But Hitler insisted on a bomber conversion. The strategic advantage wasted. On November 8, 1944, Major Walter Nowotny, the second highest scoring German fighter pilot with 256 confirmed kills, was killed flying a Me-262 when his engine failed during a landing attempt. Galland witnessed the crash. He heard the jet engine sound, saw the aircraft descending through the clouds at low altitude, rolling slightly, then striking the ground. Nowotny's death proved that even the finest pilots could not survive if the aircraft was being misused. The war was being lost, not because of inferior technology, but because of politics. Standard Luftwaffe emergency procedure for a landing gear failure. Attempt a forced landing at the nearest friendly airfield. Problem: a friendly airfield means German territory, which means his parents remain vulnerable. Alternative procedure: bail out, parachute, become a prisoner of war. Problem: his parents are defenseless against Nazi retaliation. There is no procedure for what Hans Fay is about to attempt. Defect with an intact jet fighter, while protecting your family from the clan liability protocol. The situation is not in any manual. Only improvisation is possible. And improvisation with a fuel countdown clock running toward empty. 1:45 p.m. Fay sights Frankfurt. He circles the field to assess the wind and runway condition. American soldiers on the ground are watching. They have never seen a jet fighter before. The sound is like sustained thunder through a clear sky. Alien. Fay aligns with the main runway. He begins his descent at a carefully controlled rate. Here is why the landing succeeded against all physics. The Me-262's design robustness. The swept wing is unusually forgiving at low speeds. The automatic leading edge slats provide lift even near stall conditions. The tricycle landing gear is revolutionary. It eliminates the pitch-up tendency that tailwheel aircraft have. The Jumo 004 engines deliver constant thrust at low altitude, unlike piston engines that lose power. And Hans Fay has 11,000 landings in his muscle memory. Calm. Systematic. Problem solving. The circumstances align. No anti-aircraft fire. The Americans control the field. Crosswinds are minimal. The field is clear of obstacles. Final approach. 300 feet, 200 feet, 100 feet. The visibility is excellent. The controls are light and responsive. Touchdown. High velocity. The brakes have minimal effect. The aircraft begins its landing roll. 400 yards. 500 yards. The runway is 1,400 meters total. The Me-262 decelerates. It rolls to a stop. Fay shuts down the engines. American ground personnel surround the aircraft within seconds. They take him into custody. The aircraft is intact. Zero structural damage. A complete intelligence goldmine. Delivered. Spring 1945. Major Ernst Englander of U.S. Army Intelligence conducts the formal interrogation. Englander has German language fluency and a technical aviation background, a rare combination in 1945. His questions are systematic. Technical performance, minimum speeds, cruise speed, dive performance, service ceiling, engine specifications, operational characteristics, design philosophy. Hans Fay provides complete intelligence. Every system, every specification, every performance characteristic. Englander's assessment appears in the official record. Does not give the impression of being an opportunist. Acted in good faith, without ulterior motives, with the courage of his convictions. His reliability is verified. He has expressed the disposition to assist the Allied war effort in any practical way. The aircraft is designated T-2-711 by the U.S. Army Air Forces. Its original German designation was Work Number 111711. The transformation has begun. From weapon to intelligence asset. August 29, 1945. Wright Field, Ohio. T-2711 is ready for test flights. Captain Russell Schlee is assigned as the primary test pilot. On his very first flight, Schley discovers a critical assembly problem. The four 130-pound Mk108 cannons have not been installed. That is a 520-pound center of gravity shift, potentially catastrophic. Despite this dangerous condition, Schley's exceptional piloting skill allows him to recover control and land safely. Between August 1945 and August 1946, the United States Army Air Forces conducts a comprehensive technical evaluation. It is designated Project NAD-29. The Me-262 flies 12 test flights, 10 hours and 40 minutes total, 5 engine changes. It becomes the primary workhorse of the American Me-262 intelligence program. The aircraft that Hans Fay delivered is now the foundation of American jet fighter knowledge. August 20th, 1946. The final test flight. First Lieutenant Walter Macaulay Jr. is conducting a comparative performance test with the P-80 Shooting Star. 20,000 feet. Suddenly, vibration in the airframe. Macaulay suspects the right engine. He reduces fuel flow. The vibration continues. Then gray smoke appears from the left engine. The left tailpipe temperature gauge drops to 0. He attempts to restart the right engine. The engine produces ignition, but the flame will not stabilize. Instead, the engine begins torching at 2,500 RPM, ejecting flames 2 to 3 feet behind the tail cone. At 7,500 feet, Macaulay makes the decision. He has to bail out. He pulls the canopy release. As he exits the cockpit, the back of his head strikes the tail surface, removing his helmet. His parachute opens. He lands in a cornfield with a sprained left ankle. Behind him, the Me-262 begins its final descent. At 9,000 feet, it noses up into an almost stall attitude. Then it noses down. It banks left into a steepening spiral. The wings reach nearly vertical at impact. The aircraft strikes the earth approximately 2 miles east of Lumberton, Ohio. Completely destroyed. The test program is over. The official determination: further testing is not worth the risk of losing another pilot. The Dragon is dead, but the intelligence has already been captured. February 1947. T2 Intelligence compiles the final report. Evaluation of the Me-262. Project NAD-29. The key finding is this. Despite a gross weight difference of nearly 2,000 pounds, the Me-262 was superior to the P-80 in acceleration and speed, and approximately the same in climb performance. The Me-262 apparently has a higher critical Mach number, M0.86 from a drag standpoint, than any current Army Air Force fighter. The consensus among American test pilots is clear. The Me-262's speed and acceleration are its most formidable attributes. In a combat scenario between a P-80 and a Me-262 with pilots of equivalent skill, the P-80 has advantages in turn radius and rate of climb at intermediate altitudes. But the Me-262 has advantages in speed, acceleration, critical Mach number, and gun platform stability. And the 30mm rounds carry 25 times the destructive mass of 50 caliber rounds. The Nazi jet was genuinely superior, which means the intelligence Hans Fay delivered was invaluable. The Lockheed P-80 Shooting Star development timeline proves the impact. May 1943. Lockheed initiated the XP-80 project with no official contract, based solely on early intelligence about German jet development. October 1943. The U.S. Army formally contracted the XP-80, months after the work had already begun. January 8th, 1944. Maiden flight. 143 days from formal specification to first flight. extraordinary by any standard. The P-80 incorporated design features directly informed by Me-262 intelligence. Cockpit instrumentation modeled on German examples. Engine air intake design adapted from German publications. Landing gear systems reflecting Messerschmitt experience. The intelligence from T-2711. The aircraft Hans Fay delivered. Accelerated refinements throughout the entire program. Nazi technology directly feeding American jet fighter development. But the impact goes deeper. The technical intelligence from T-2711 became the foundation for American jet fighter development throughout the 1950s. Swept wing adoption. American manufacturers did not pursue swept wing designs until the Korean War revealed the desperate need for transonic performance. German technical data provided the theoretical foundation. The F-86 Sabre. Its swept wing design descended directly from Me-262 intelligence. In Korea, the F-86 faced the Soviet MiG-15. The MiG-15 also descended from captured German technology. Two jet fighters, both children of Nazi research, fighting a proxy Cold War in the skies over Korea. The Me-262 intelligence that Hans Fay delivered in 1945 influenced American fighter designs through the 1960s. A single defection. A single aircraft. An entire decade of fighter development on both sides of the Iron Curtain. Hans Fay's defection was individual and uncoordinated. March 31st, 1945. But between April and August of 1945, the American forces conducted a systematic operation. Colonel Harold Watson organized what became known as Watson's Whizzers, a special unit tasked with locating, evaluating, and flying captured German aircraft back to the United States. German test pilots cooperated. Karl Bohr, the chief test pilot for Messerschmitt. Ludwig Willy Huffman, a senior test pilot. Gerhard Kulis, the engineering superintendent. Together, they recovered 9 operational Me-262s from various German airfields, primarily Lechfeld. The aircraft were ferried to Cherbourg, France, then shipped to the United States aboard aircraft carriers. But here is what matters. Fay's timing proved far more valuable. He delivered his aircraft at the exact moment when the Americans could immediately disseminate the intelligence. Watson's systematic recovery came later. It influenced broader testing programs, but it missed the crucial early months of American jet fighter development decisions. First mover advantage. Fay on March 31st versus Watson starting in April. Timing matters. Following his defection in the spring of 1945, Hans Fay entered an ambiguous status. He was not offered employment in Operation Paperclip, the famous program that recruited German scientists and engineers. No American aircraft manufacturer attempted to recruit him. There is no record of post-war service in the United States Air Force. He simply returned to civilian status. Eventually, he relocated to Altea in Alicante, Spain, a Mediterranean coastal town that attracted German refugees and retirees in the post-war period. He died on March 30th, 1981, exactly 36 years to the day after his defection. Age 66. He received 0 American military decorations, 0 public recognition. His contribution to American jet fighter development was recognized only decades later by aviation historians conducting scholarly research. The most consequential aircraft theft of the Second World War. Forgotten. The single Me-262 that Hans Fay delivered on March 31st, 1945, flew a total of 13 times at Wright Field. It generated intelligence that accelerated the P-80 development. It provided the swept wing data that became the foundation for the F-86 Sabre. It influenced American jet fighters throughout the Cold War. General Galland was correct. 300 Me-262s would have changed the air war. But one Me-262 delivered intact, changed American technology forever, not through combat, through intelligence, through theft. Through one test pilot's impossible choice to protect his family, to betray his country, to deliver the future. If this story moved you the way it moved me, do me a favor right now. Hit that like button. Every single like tells YouTube to show this to more people who need to hear Hans Fei's name. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We rescue forgotten stories from dusty military archives every single day. Stories about impossible choices. Test pilots who changed history. The price of progress that nobody calculated. Drop a comment right now and tell me, where are you watching from? United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, Germany. Our community stretches across the entire world. You are not just a viewer. You are part of making sure Hans Fei and the 22 other pilots who flew with him that day, and the engineers who built that aircraft, and the intelligence officers who documented it are not forgotten. Thank you for watching. And thank you for making sure that the theft that changed American military technology is finally remembered.